Bonjour, je m'appelle Ami David Baptiste. Bonjour, Ami, dans on Ami. Hi, I'm David Baptiste here, as you know, and welcome to our new section. And it is called Amii in an Ami 8. Okay, I did it in French there, pretty flash from that. Anyway, so I'm going to hand you over to Amy now, and I hope you enjoy it, and you get to have some fun now with our Citroen Ami 8. Enjoy. Au revoir.
Hello, it's Dr. A here, otherwise known as Amy. Today we're going to be having a bit of fun with our Citroen Ami 8, or Ami 8. This is a 1973 classic car, and this is a journey we actually took last summer. The car itself was a bit of fun. We were having a naughty little drink one night, and I jokingly said to Avid that cars never have names like Amy, and he said, oh, actually they do. Little bit of eBaying later, and we found that in fact there is a Citroen Ami and it was for sale. And this is how we ended up with our 1973 Citroen Ami. So we picked up the car. It's a long drive down to Dorset to pick it up, and it was one of the hottest days last summer. We headed back to Wales, and since then we've been out on a few journeys on it, but the car itself had a couple of issues with the new fuel type that's the C10 fuel, and it eroded the fuel lines. The most things we'd try and do on the car ourselves, particularly a car this age, but fuel you don't really want to mess around with. So she's been in the garage for a little while to try and fix that, and hopefully we'll have her back in the next day or so and we'll be able to get out on some more journeys. So this particular journey was one we took out to the 3 castles in Wales. You can see at the moment we're going over the new bridge that takes you onto the A465, the new dual carriageway bit that they spent years and years building. And you can see here it's a little bit tricky. You go over, and then if you're not careful and you carry on straight along the road, you end up in a school. So you just have to make sure you come off at the right point to go onto the A465. So I'm going to leave the video to run for a bit, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the Citroen Ami, because it's a bit of an unusual car, not one you see all the time over in the UK. I believe there are only about 5 left for the year that we have this model. So you can imagine there are not many of them about. The video itself is cut up into smaller sections. We've had a few issues with the camera. This is the old camera with bits that got deleted and didn't save, and so there's just bits and pieces here and there. But it was a trip out to the 3 castles, White Castle, Skenrith and Grosmont Castle, last June or July I think it was. So for now, enjoy the journey. So as you can see, we're going along here, and there's various bits of the video, but I kept the next bit in purely because there was an old VW camper van coming down the other side of the road. You can see it coming up just about now. Wherever I see an old vehicle like that, I'm always going to try and leave it in, because why not? They're a bit different to some of the others, although the camper vans are more common than a lot of the other vehicles you see out there these days. Everyone seems to want one. But yeah, here we are. We've come past Abergavenny now, and we're heading out towards Grosmont Castle. Then we headed to Skenrith, and finally the White Castle before heading home. So the three castles were originally medieval lordships, and they were built here shortly after the 1066 Norman conquest to protect Wales from the route from Wales to Hereford. After that, there was a major Welsh revolt, and in response to that, King Stephen brought the castles to form a lordship, which then protected several parts of the England-Wales border. So these three castles were quite prominent at the time as a way of protecting the land and the routes between Hereford and parts of Wales. That's why they were quite interesting, and there's some photographs at the end of our visits to them. There's not a huge amount left of all three of them at the anymore. There's more than some castles, but they're not as popular as some of the bigger castles, Caerphilly and Raglan and places like that. You haven't got the big Cadw tourist centres, although at Skenrith, I think it is, that was a National Trust property, but not in the same manner of big tourist information centres and the like. So it's quite nice to be able to go there. You can take the dog round, you can walk round properly and actually get up close to and imagine what they would have been like. And all three of them are quite imposing. They come out of nowhere, particularly the White Castle. You don't seem to realise it's there, and then you go around a corner and there it is. It's definitely worth a visit. And if you can do all three, they're perfectly close together, so you can do all three quite easily in a day. And as we're having a nice little ride through the country lanes, I'll tell you a little bit more about the Citroen Ami. It's obviously not the most well-known vehicle, particularly in the UK. Being French, that's understandable. The Citroen Ami, Ami meaning friend, was first created in 1961 as the Citroen Ami 6. And this was a kind of follow on from the 2CV, and it's in fact like the Citroen Diane, built on the same chassis as the 2CV, and they nicknamed it the 3CV at the time. And after that it became a car, the car in its own right. It had the Ami 6, and then moving on to the Ami 8, and then the Ami 8 Super Ones brake versions, which came slightly later. And this is a 1973 version. It ran from 1961 to 1978. And it's quite an unusual little car. If you look at it, it doesn't have the same look as some of the others. And when you ride in the car, there's things like the suspension is not like anything you find in a modern car. I mean, I don't know all that much about classic cars. I haven't been in all that many classic cars, but it feels really different to anything else that I've ever been in. And they were produced around the world, and you actually find there's quite a few. And I know that on Instagram we've got an Ami in an Ami Instagram site, which you can follow if you want to. We've got quite a few people from Chile and South America that actually follow that site, again because there was a factory over there creating these cars, so they obviously still have some over there, classic cars over there similar to this. As for our car, I think as I said, there's only 5 left of this year registered in the UK. Although we have seen another car, I don't know if it's a 1973 one, there is another Citroen Ami around this area, which was kind of strange, pulling up and then seeing it parked in someone's drive, another Citroen Ami. But I think that's a slightly later one to ours. But before that, it wasn't a car that I'd ever seen, and you don't see them at the classic car shows as often, not that I've noticed anyway. And it's just a nice and different kind of car. I mean, you can see the body slightly on there, and you'll see in the pictures it's got a nice shape to it, and a shape that's different to anything you see these days. And Citroen really did something quite nice with this car. So following on from the 2CV, which in itself was a unique car, the suspension in it, meaning that it could be used on farms and things, and we've all seen the Top Gear carrying their eggs across the field in the 2CV. The Ami was slightly bigger than that and was more family orientated, even to the point that some of the manuals had pictures of the seats being taken out to be used as picnic benches to sit on. And so proper family day out, and you get there, take your seats out, have your picnic, put them back in, and head home with all the family involved. And the boot space on it was quite large. You can easily fit your luggage in to go for that nice country day out, or whatever family activity you're gonna do. And it does have that sense of it. It has that sense of going out for the day. It has that proper, getting up and having a ride out for an adventure to go and see something with all the family. And so Doris, our dog, absolutely loves jumping on the back seat, and she's got the bench seat there, lays out on it, and she's like Lady Muck in the back. It's a really nice car in that respect. And we're looking forward to lots of adventures this summer and heading out with our flask of tea to sit there in our car. We're probably not going to get the seats out for a picnic, but we could if we wanted to. We're now coming into Abergavenny on the video, and you can see this was summer and all the cars queuing up to go through the town. That's why we tend to try and avoid this area at this time of year in the summer months, because you just end up spending more time sat in traffic. And in a car like this with no air conditioning, or you don't want to be sat there too long. So our Citroen Ami came originally from Toulouse, and we were actually really lucky. The paperwork that we have with it, we've got the original owner's manuals, we've got the full service history of the car. It's only done about, I think it's 70,000 kilometres, something like that. And we've got some lovely bits, like there's a celebratory book, so all these pictures of various different Citroen Amis in the countryside being used for things, and it's all written in French, so I can't at the moment. I'm in the process of translating what all the things are in there, but it's a bit like an annual that you would get as a kid with things in, and it's just a lovely set of documents that we got with it, which we weren't expecting. You don't always expect to get that kind of stuff, and to have the original paperwork, including the invoice from the person that brought it in Toulouse, is quite something. We had actually planned to go back to take the car to Toulouse to get to as close as where that Citroen dealership was originally this year for its 50th birthday, but things being as they are at the moment, travel wise and needing to get these fuel lines done, it just didn't quite happen at the moment. We'll be coming up to the end of this video very shortly. We're now pulling into the Baffle House, which has been on several of Avid's videos, and you can see quite how busy it is in here just for a typical day. I don't think this was a weekend even. I think this was a weekday that we took this out. But it gets very busy there because it's a good little cafe. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit different to Avid's one, so I'll get into my flow of things with time, but I'm hoping to try and put some of these kind of videos out in the classic car. They'll probably be shorter. There we are, some pictures of the car. I mean, it is unique. It's not something you see every day. That's White Castle, which is one of the castles. That one is Grosmont, and hopefully this one's Skenrith. I think that's the right way around. Anyway, the three castles are there, and that's the Amii outside of Skenrith Castle. Thank you very much for listening, and if you like this, give us a thumbs up, not a thumbs down. Somebody gave me a thumbs down on when I fell off the motorbike. That was a bit harsh. But if you liked it, let us know. Subscribe to our channel and let us know what else you want to see, which of the videos you like the most. Au revoir for now.